Hello and welcome to episode 502 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mark. Now, this episode is probably going to be a one-off, and I hope I never have to record another intro like this, because joining me on today's episode is the amazing film director, Chuck Russell. And for you listeners out there, this was recorded just over 2 weeks ago, and the plan was to release it in a couple of days' time. But the news came out yesterday that unfortunately Chuck has passed away, which is brutal. And I've never been in a situation before when I've had to sit and record an intro talking about a guest that is no longer with us. So this won't be a normal episode of Mark and Me. I'm not going to be talking about the previous episode. I'm not going to be talking about the sponsors of the podcast or subscribing or even promoting what Chuck is there to do on this episode. But what I do want to do is honor his life and still give you this episode because it's important and a celebration of Chuck's life. And I really connected with him. And he's a really, really special person and always will be. So what I wanted to do is record for you all and give you this episode unedited as it is, and just use it as a tribute to Chuck and the amazing films he's given us and everything he's done. So I want to get straight to it and let you hear it because it's something very beautiful. It might be his last ever interview, I don't know. But it's important we have it and we share it together as listeners, as fans of films, as fans of everything in life, but also just a fan of Chuck and all the amazing work he's given us. So here's Mark and Me with Chuck Russell. Chuck, welcome to the Mark and Me podcast.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute honor. Now, what I do, Chuck, with every guest that comes on is I'm always very intrigued on how your career started. And I'm talking about when you were a child. Most filmmakers I speak to, they certainly watch a certain film as a kid, or maybe a genre or an acting performance, but there's one that sparks that love that makes you go, for the rest of my life, I just want to make films, no other jobs.
Good question. I was very young when I happened to see on some television rerun The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad and Ray Harryhausen's work.
Unbelievable.
I know I was very young because what I recall was for the first time realizing that's somebody's dad's job. That's a job in the real world. So I was probably grade school. And it struck me that a person could do that, where I think prior to that, I thought movies were just magical and made themselves. And I remained a huge fan of Harryhausen, as a matter of fact. But that and Enter the Dragon later in life. I was a huge Bruce Lee fan and a martial arts fan, and I've been lucky to be able to do action in some of my movies and actually work with some great martial artists. So that's the answer to the question. I come from theater though, and working with actors and working on performance is really what I'm all about. Those are the things that inspired my film work.
Do you know, I've been doing this podcast for almost 9 years. I'm almost at 500 episodes, and no one has ever mentioned until now Enter the Dragon. And my dad, almost 90 years old, when I grew up as a child, would let me watch Enter the Dragon without my mum knowing. And he'd be like, look, watch this film. And I'm just blown away by its violence and the mirror scene and O'Hara at the end, and everything is incredible. But it did genuinely leave an impact on me that made me really love filmmaking. And I was like, this is incredible. I believed it was real as a child.
The reason it's a good lesson in action acting. Action is character. Shakespeare put sword fights in all his plays. I mean, those moments, a close-up of Bruce Lee when he's in the middle of striking an enemy, are incredible performances. And I don't think some critics, miss that. That is a unique form of acting. And people like Schwarzenegger and Dwayne Johnson are masters of it, as well as more traditional dialogue scenes. But look, anyway, I'm bragging on action acting because it's underrated.
Massively. Did you, I suppose, then, when you got that love for film and you realized that that's what you wanted to do, when I've spoken to a lot of people in the industry, it's always been a bit of a battle within their own family, never mind the industry, and trying to get a name for yourself because families are very big on having success. And I wondered, did you have a battle where your parents were saying, get a real job or this isn't going to work? Was that because I always think if you turn around to your parents and say, I want to be a rock star or I want to be a movie maker or a film star, they think this is a dream. Like it
Very,
might not happen.
very insightful question. I'm sure that's true for many artists. My dad and my uncle on the manly side of my family, because they're both very great macho men, uh, thought California itself was a crazy place to go to, let alone to try to be a film director, which was like saying you want to be an astronaut. I had no film school. I'd finished at University of Illinois, my state college. But my mom basically was the other side of the coin. And her side of the family, my grandpa was a trumpet player, and they played Dixieland in clubs in Chicago back in the day. So there was an artistic side of my family, and she was basically saying, go for it, do what you need to do.
That's amazing because I think sometimes, you've got that extra battle to try and prove them, never mind the world, that you can be a good filmmaker. So if you've got that support straight away, unbelievable.
Well, it was a conflict in it was a conflict in the family. And then I'll add this to films that inspire me. I saw Day for Night when I was in college and just realized the dysfunctional family that plays were and the theater work I was doing would be true in filmmaking. And I finally just said, I'm going to LA, see what happens.
so so blasé, like, I'm going to go to LA.
I was, 20 years old and single, and uh, I had no money, but I just thought I got a job sweeping stages. So I was ready for adventure at that time in my life.
I love it. And what was the moment that you realized, and it might be a certain title, it might be a certain stage in your career, but you realized you had done enough to be able to warrant that move, that choice, that adventure to tell your parents, I'm going to go and do it? What was the moment in your career that was a light to go, I've done it. It was all worth it.
That was the release of Elm Street 3 very clearly because it was a
Yeah.
big hit at the time. It cost very little. It made great money. It was the biggest grossing independent film ever made at the time, which was not astronomical in today's money, but I think it was 50 million gross in America, and it cost whatever, 5 million. So I had plowed through my first directing opportunity. I did very little reflection until that release. And then I thought, okay, I made a hit film with very few resources in an independent film. Uh, I'm gonna carry on. I'm gonna carry on.
Amazing. And I suppose what people won't understand unless they have a full read before today's interview is your vast array of different genres and types of film. Some people play it safe and will say, I'm a very good comedy director. I love the dialogue. I love the script, and that's all I want to focus on. But to do Nightmare on Elm Street 3, which is a complete, incredible cult horror that stands the test of time, you then did The Mask as well, which is, for me, one of my childhood favorite films when growing up. I thought the chemistry of Cameron Diaz and all this was absolutely magical, and Jim Carrey was in his absolute prime. When you look at those two films side by side, you couldn't get much more different.
That was very purposeful on my part because I'd done Elm Street 3 and The Blob, and they were both successful. And I realized if I did one more horror film, I'd be the horror film guy. So I come from comedy. I had a fake ID to get into Second City in Chicago when I was a kid. Um, and I produced Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield prior to directing. And I loved comedy, so I thought Mask was supposed to be a horror film, and I talked them into flipping it into comedy based on Jim Carrey's availability, and they trusted me, and they really didn't know what I was up to because Jim Carrey was not a star yet. But I really wanted to change gears, and I wanted to go back to horror and still enjoy horror, but the idea of three in a row would have sort of stuck me in that genre, and frankly, it gave me nightmares. So there was a limit to how much horror I wanted to do. After
That's incredible because that's quite brave because you could have played it safe and you could have done horror for the rest of your life and become an iconic film director within horror. But the fact it's funny that film because when I watch it and you think of the villain, you think of the mask, and you think of the way it's actually done and portrays and takes over his soul and everything, it is a horror, but it's
Yeah,
also very funny and it's very colourful and it's very flamboyant and it's very, I don't know, it's just a wonderful film.
thank
It's
you
stood the test of time, hasn't it? It's you watch it now and you can still get the jokes, you still get the great performances. It's mesmerizing.
so much. And look, I really am aware of a global audience, and one or two of my early films did not translate well. And so with The Mask, I thought, well, here's an opportunity with Jim, who I felt was literally a Charlie Chaplin, to do something that could go beyond language with physical comedy and the humor that Jim made available to me and a new style of visual effects available to us. So that was again purposeful on my part that I wanted it to be kind of a universal movie, and amazingly, I succeeded apparently.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I still will always recommend that film to people that if there is anyone that hasn't seen it in the planet, I'm still saying to them, go and watch this. You'll love it. It's got everything.
Thank you.
Now, I will get shot, and obviously we're here to talk about Eraser and Arnold Schwarzenegger being one of the most iconic actors for me growing up. I was born in '82, so when I got to see all the classics that when I grew up, Commando was absolutely one of the first ones. Again, my dad made me watch, and I was like, this is a masterpiece. I just love the action.
Thank you.
Predator always stuck with me, but Eraser stands up there with them, rightfully so. And for the listeners out there, obviously I can talk all about the 4K release and how great it now looks, but how did that film project and everything come to you? How was it that, because not everyone knows the backstory. They'll know how Arnold got the contract and how the film was made, but when was the point that it started for you with that whole project?
Arnold and I was talking to Arnold about another project, and Arnold came to me with a script for Eraser, very aggressively wanted to make that movie. And when you have the biggest movie star at the time, one of the biggest studios, and know you're going to get all the bells and whistles, and I'd been jonesing to do a full-on action movie. I did many things when I first came to LA, and one of them was being the production assistant for Stunts Unlimited. So it probably was only for 6 months or so, but I got to run with all the stunt teams from show to show, getting coffee and being like a handyman almost. And I love action, and I th had learned action craft from the best. So that was an opportunity I didn't want to pass up. And it's nice when the actor comes to you, the director, with a project they want to make. So I needed to do some revisions on the screenplay and get a few bigger action scenes to live up to Arnold's brand. But Arnold helped me do that, so it was a good collaboration.
I love that it was so kind of such a passion for him that it needed to happen. There was probably never a moment you could be like, no, I'm not doing that. He's like, look, we're doing this.
I thought to myself, do I really want to do an Arnold movie at this point, right after True Lies? And you get knowing what it takes, there's a sigh of exhaustion, like be careful what you wish for, and you might get it. And it's like, okay, now I have to climb the mountain and make a big Arnold movie. And I felt I was up to it, so I said yes, and it's a great deal of work. Doing a movie on that scope is like being a ringmaster. It's quite a large circus.
Yeah.
I realized right away the challenge is going to be to stay focused on the central story and performance and keep all the bells and whistles of the action designed properly and safely.
Was there moments when it was actually greenlit? You're on the set, you're with Arnie, and you're thinking, he's worked with James Cameron previously, he's worked with all these people.
Oh, yeah, I know Jim Cameron. They're all human beings. I wasn't threatened. I was
No, but was
I
there
was
pressure?
I was challenged. I knew it was pressure. Also, you get pushback from the studio. So
Yeah.
I had something to fight for all the time, which were the rail guns, the crazy alligator scene, and the jump from the airplane. Those are the three things I added to the screenplay, along with the relationship between Arnold and Vanessa Williams. That was a little less of a love story than it was originally. I wanted a strong, smart woman who was in trouble with the government and didn't necessarily want to be erased. And Vanessa was the perfect actress. Just her I don't know, her sense of authority.
Yeah.
She's very commanding, and I thought she was a good match for Arnold. And when finally there's some softness between them, I think it's really terrific. It was never meant to be, and it's not a love story. It's what I call action attraction. If two people save each other's lives, they become close in that way. And I was quite pleased with the result. And Vanessa did an incredible job.
And isn't it glorious now that this has now been given the 4K treatment? You get this amazing package with all the bits. For me, as a nerd film buyer, when I see these releases, I'm just like, yes, finally, we've got something that can go on that kind of bookshelf and rightfully have the respect it
I'm
deserves.
very pleased and honored that there's that interest and demand and people like the film that much. It's very gratifying after all the work. And I feel responsible for everybody I made work on the film. And they enjoyed working on it, but we all put a lot of effort into it. So to have a success where a new generation, a new audience will get to see it is very satisfying.
My final question for you today, and I ask this to every guest that's been on. I've had Anthony Hopkins, Mads Mikkelsen, Kevin Smith, Aubrey Plaza, all different guests, but they all get the same final question. As the episode is finished, Chuck, you get to choose a song that means a lot to you that will be played as the outro music. So our interview's all edited, it's all ready for the world to listen to. We talk about all these films, but then at the very end of the episode, one piece of music is played. I'm putting you on the spot now. I know it's not kind because there's probably 1,000 songs in your head. But what's a song that you adore that you would love to be played at the end of today's podcast?
Then it's today's podcast. Well, that's tough. I love music. I'm listening to music all the time.
And not to add any more pressure, we've got 1 minute left.
I've been listening to a lot of Imagine Dragons lately. So I think
Nice.
Warriors. I think Warriors, one of the early ones.
That feels like it's a nice 360 moment. It's fitting. We've got Warrior talk with Bruce Lee. And
I don't want to give you Nine Inch Nails, so I'll give you one of my favorite
perfect.
songs. Got some power to it.
There we go. We are literally over. Well, we're to 1 minute to go. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Good luck with this release, and I hope all the rest of your interviews go very well.
Very interesting questions. Thanks, Emma. I really
thank you. Lovely to meet you.
You well.
Take care, Chuck. Bye-bye now. So there was my interview with the amazing, incredible Chuck Russell. And as a huge fan of you heard on the podcast of the film The Mask, growing up, I was obsessed with that movie. I think he's given us some incredible films, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Blob, such a range. And to have this moment captured as a podcast, which I've talked about in the past as being a photo for us all, and captured that moment is something we can keep forever. We can celebrate his life, we can watch his films again, and Chuck will live with us all. He'll stay in our memories and our hearts forever for the films he's given us. So this will be quite a short outro. I want to thank all of you today for listening. You can probably hear by my voice it's been really, really difficult to get myself in the frame of mind to be able to record this. But I wanted to get it out there. It wasn't supposed to come out. I even agreed with the management it would be next week. But after seeing the news yesterday and it being so raw but also so real, I felt today was the right day for everyone to have this moment and it not just be mine any longer, but it be everyone else's. So thank you for listening, and Mark and me will return with the second part of the 2000 Trees special in a few days. But before I go, please love everybody, please take care of everyone, and this is all in loving memory of Chuck Russell.
As a child, you would wait and watch from far away, but you always knew that you'd be the one to work while they all play. In youth, you'd lay awake at night and scheme of all the things that you would change, but it was just a dream. Above the rest and prove yourself, your spirit never dies. Farewell, I've gone to take my throne above, but don't weep for me, 'cause this will be